Welcome to our 46th Tawheed Halaqah. The date is the 18th of August 2025. We are on Volume 2, Kitab At Tawheed, chapter titled Lat Lies in Mythology, which is chapter 13, page 453, and we're continuing from when we last left, which is the first paragraph. And I'll read now, and the format will be Tawheed, and then the professor will comment on the works, inshallah. So, page 453, volume 2. That is not altogether a completely outlandish analysis. In fact, Sheikh al-Muallimi, who is considered among the sect of Wahhabism as a respected figure, was compelled to flatly contradict the views of the renegade Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and set out an analysis that is not dissimilar to that of our own. Cited within his collected works, he said, "It is possible that Amr ibn Luhay," and this is in relation to Amr, the origin of shirk, just for context, "may have said to them, that rock is blessed because it was close to the Athnam, and the Thawiq was prepared upon it for the pilgrims. Then its owner was swallowed up, even though the description and name of that custodian, Al-Lat, was pronounced with emphasis upon the letter Ta, and claimed to be the name of one of the angels, Al-Lat, announced without stressing the last letter. Amr invented this name to make it ring true. That is derived from the word of glory, as has been mentioned by Al-Wahidi and others. It should be made into a memorial for this king and entitled with the name Al-Lat." He also, so this is your commentary continuing, he also mentioned that there are other possibly explanations stating within this story there is a strong mix-up that requires attention. Similar has been written by Al-Khadwini. At Taif, there is a rock which is called Al-Lat that is under the minaret of its mosque. It was a rock in ancient times. A man would sit upon to prepare the Sawiq for the pilgrimages, for the pilgrims. When he died, Amr ibn Luhay exclaimed, "He didn't die, but he entered this rock." He ordered his people to worship that rock. There were two demons named Al-Lat and Al-Uzza that would converse with the people. At Taif, the people made Al-Lat into a goddess and built a house, sanctuary, and temple dedicated to her. They would circle it in reverence. It contained a square white rock. When At-Taif embraced al-Islam, the Prophet ﷺ sent Abu Sufyan ibn Harb and Mughira ibn Shu'bah to destroy it. Today, remnants of the rock remain under the minaret of the mosque in At-Taif. As for the classification of this matter as being fetishism by Jawad Ali, this is a mistake. It arises from not diligently reading texts and harmonizing them. Closely reading the sentence, "Your Lord has entered this rock," implies that the entry of the man or his spirit into the rock is the entry of a deity, or signification that there is a deification occurring. It is not merely the alleged entry by the spirit of the dead person, but a transformation occurring whereby the rock then possesses a specific wathan, idol, containing properties associated with a thanam. Despite the comment of Dr. Jawad Ali in reference to the religious scholars, in general, they don't tend to adhere to strict principles in unpicking the actual beliefs of different religions and classifying them as primitive or advanced. Although they undertake diligent work in collecting large data, be that in the form of descriptive material, observational points, and the like, when the analysis begins to be undertaken, they often proceed from fixed, previous, often entrenched psychological biases, or even at times analysis and summation can become clouded by phantasms and wild assumptions, which is contrary to the correct scientific method. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar made an attempt to try and reconcile the differing viewpoints upon this without weighing preference to one or another, but he affirmed that Al-Lat was not Amr ibn Luhay. It seems like the attributes and statement to him that he didn't die but entered the rock, thereby enabling a house, sanctuary, to be built over it and worshipped. Other details were mentioned, some of which are important, as he writes in Fath al-Bari. Ibn Abi Hatim reported from the channel of Amr ibn Malik, from Abu Jawza, from Ibn Abbas, with the wording contained in the edition, as he was preparing the sweet upon a stone. None would consume lest they would become fat, so he was worshipped. There is disagreement concerning the name of this man, as narrated by Al-Faqihi from the channel of Mujahid. He said he was a man during the era of Jahiliyyah. He had sheep, he would graze them, sitting upon the rock.
Okay.
He would take from the raisins of a daif and cheese, from that he made hayes, feeding whoever passed by. When he died, he was worshipped. Mujahid used to place emphasis upon the reading of Al-Lat from the channel of Ibn Jurayj regarding it. Sorry.
Hayes is something like a porridge. Yeah, carry on.
Like porridge, yeah? Mujahid used to place emphasis upon the reading of
something
Al-Lat.
Similar to porridge, yeah.
Okay. From the channel of Ibn Jurayj regarding it, he said, some people made the claim that he was Amr ibn Dharib. He was a leader among the Arabs at his time, during which the poets who exclaim, among us there is a leader who decides, and he does not rescind what he decides. As-Suhaili reported that it was Amr ibn Luhay ibn Kam'ah ibn Ilyas ibn Mudar, and he said, and it is said that he is Amr ibn Luhay, and he is Rabia ibn Haritha, he is the father of Khudaa. Some have altered the words of As-Suhaili, thinking that Rabia ibn Haritha is a different name for Al-Lat, but that isn't the case. Rabia ibn Haritha is the name of a tribe in what has been said. What is Sahih is that Al-Lat is other than Amr ibn Luhay. Indeed, it is reported by Al-Faqihi from another pathway from Ibn Abbas that when Al-Lat died, Amr ibn Luhay said to them that he didn't die but merged with the rock, so you should worship it and build a house sanctuary upon it. It has also been previously mentioned in the Manaqib virtues of Quraysh that Amr ibn Luhay was the individual who led the Arabs to worship Al-Asnam, and this separation supports that. As told by Ibn al-Qalbi, his name was Simra ibn Ghanam, and Al-Lat, she was located in At-Taif. It is said in Nakhla and in Uqad, the first being more correct. It is reported by Al-Faqihi, also from the channel of Miqsam, from Ibn Abbas. Hisham ibn al-Qalbi said that the idol Manat was older than Al-Lat, being destroyed at the hand of Ali by the command of the Prophet ﷺ in the year of conquest. Al-Lat was more recent than Manat, and it was destroyed by Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, again by the command of the Prophet ﷺ, as the tribe of Thaqif embraced Islam. Regarding Al-Uzza, she was more recent than Al-Lat, taken by Dhalim ibn Sa'ad in the valley of Nakhla above a stream. It was destroyed by Khalid ibn al-Walid by the command of the Prophet ﷺ in the year of conquest. As for Ibn Taymiyyah, he is regarded by the sect of Wahhabism as a Shaykh of Islam, the role model, the supreme and ultimate reference point to which all gravitate towards, a totem of the highest magnitude, recognized by allies or enemies alike as being one of the smartest people to inhabit the earth. Here is his categorization and analysis as recorded within Majmu' al-Fatawa. It is left to the reader to either laugh or cry. This is from there. A group from the Salaf, early predecessors, bit of sarcasm there, pronounced Al-Lat with the emphasis upon the letter Ta. It was said that it is a name which is derived from the name of Allah. Al-Khattabi said the Mushrikeen used to use the name of Allah for some of their asnam. So Allah converted this name to Al-Lat to preserve his and be a rejection of that. I would say there is no contradiction between the two statements and pronunciation, for there was a man who used to prepare or mix the sawiq upon a stone. They would worship at his grave and call him by his name and shorten it. And they intended to say that he was a god, as they used to call the Asnam gods. So the name of this together, Al-Lat, was for the people of Taif, and they used to call it Ar-Rabbah, the goddess. There is no contradiction here between the readings and sayings. Sorry, Sheikh, did you want to make any comment on this?
No, but that's, you see, if you read the text carefully, see at his grave. Do you have seen in the previous narration anywhere the word grave?
So he's made this extrapolation based on assumption.
Imagination. He projected, a grave is in his brain and he projected in the reality.
And the rest of it says that Al-Lat was the people of, and they call it a goddess. Where does that also come? Also from imagination, or just from mixing weaker narrations?
Who said the goddess?
It
No,
says
no,
goddess,
that is a
Al-Rabba.
goddess.
Okay.
Al-Rabba, yeah.
Okay.
It's the name here in Taif, yeah.
Okay.
No, that's
But to say that
in all the stories.
Allah and Al-Lat as some kind of connection between the two, is that also from imagination?
There may be connection because Al-Lat actually is an old Babylonian deity, a satanic subterranean entity. We'll discuss that later.
Okay.
So this is all an attempt to explain a word which may be having an old Semitic root with the current Arabic, which may or may not fit. All of this is, but this is having in all languages and all traditions. They try to give a name, some meaning in the current language. Actually, it's an ancient name coming from an older language, which may have been lost, or some traces are there between the two languages.
Fundamentally, it doesn't reach the bar of certainty either way to make it extracted at all from ultimately.
Either way, it is.
Yeah.
The text of the Quran is clear. It's kind of a deity which the Mushrikeen perceive to be some kind of an angelic or something, or either a consort or the daughter of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the origin in ancient time? You do your archaeology, you do the history, and then you try to ascertain what may have been the origin. Yeah. Okay.
This is your commentary continuing. For the sake of completeness, we reiterate the denial that Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, has anything to do with these narrations, let alone the pronunciation of any such phrasing. Even if, for the sake of argument, that the phrasing, he was a man preparing to speak upon a rock, none would consume it except that they would become fat, so they worshipped him, was textually transmitted by Tawatur, we would say, so what? There is no question that Imam Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, is an ocean of knowledge, the interpreter of the Quran. He is by Allah descending from the pure Ahlul Bayt, whom it is prohibited to give charity to, as honor and exclusivity. He is by Allah, the Imam, with thabt, established veracity, thiqa, trustworthy, sadiq, truthful, and mu'min, true believer. However, he never said that he had himself witnessed a mythological man called Al-Lat, nor did he allege to have ever consumed the strange sawiq prepared upon a stone. This is neither his claim nor that of any of the scholars who are his teachers from the senior trustworthy companions. None claim to have seen, witnessed, or heard anything to that effect. So fundamentally, that's the issue here, which is if a person isn't witness to these events and he's made an assumption, irrespective of his
it's just stories. They may have a root, they may have a node, they have been embellished, they may be legendary, they may be completely invented.
It doesn't meet the bar. Ultimately, it doesn't meet the bar of certainty to establish anything from, because if he's narrating from Rasulullah, that's a different thing as opposed to.
I said even by Tawatur from Ibn Abbas, it doesn't make any sense. Abbas is not an eyewitness. His teacher are not eyewitness. His father's grandfathers, they never witnessed that. So it is just an old story, people narrating around. Nobody knows exactly what's going on. And you see various versions of the story. Each one have another head, another tail. The joint thing is there's something like a rock there, and some sawiq is made, and so on. And Amr ibn Luhay seemed to be the major deceiver, the demagogue who said, and I speculated, I think before, or it's come, that most likely this was a competition to Amr ibn Luhay, a dangerous man. So he got him killed, hid him, and say, he entered the rock. The goddess loved him so much and absorbed him. So I said some Inca kind of myth. You know how pagans and simple-minded people can be fooled by such rubbish. Okay, we can speculate something like that at best. Okay, carry on.
The best of the narrations about this matter do not mention the word death, let alone a grave, so they have no direct correlation to the matter of graves or the dead. Other narratives are imprecise, vague, or even fantastical. A man entering the rock, not dying. Regarding the narration that does mention a death and a grave, it is only stemming from Mujahid ibn Jabr. He is without doubt an imam. He is without doubt an imam with thabt, established veracity, thiqa, trustworthy, sadiq, truthful, and yet, even with all of this, nothing has been reported that he stood at the alleged grave of that mythological man, nor did he hear it from anyone who did. Mujahid ibn Jabr was born during the era of Islam. Crucially, nowhere in the narratives reliant upon his authority does he mention or specify that this was taken from any companions of the Prophet ﷺ. At best, one can only assume that he was attempting to articulate the belief held by people during the era of Jahiliyyah, a period he did not witness.
Yeah.
At the lowest common denominator, the same reasoning would reasonably also apply to Abu Salih, the slave of Hani, and to Abu Jawza. There remains only one possibility, which is
we'll change it to the freed slave, actually, because he's Mawla. He has been freed. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, carry on.
There remains only one possibility which is left. That is part of what the Arabs had circulated in reports, myths, legends, or the like, none of which is absolutely reliable. The transmitters of these are from Bedouin Arabs of Jahiliyyah, mushrikeen filled with tribalistic and racist overtures, people who are known for their ignorance, arrogance, boastfulness, and not being reliable in accuracy of reporting. Notwithstanding all of that, we do not rule out such stories may have a historical origin or root that has been lost amidst myth and legend, being subject to exaggeration or even distortion against the backdrop of a chaotic tribalistic competition for power and resources. Perhaps ongoing research, particularly archaeological excavation, may help in future to unpick the complex background to determine what their precise historical origin is. Detractors or even skeptics might postulate that Ibn Abbas, but also Mujahid ibn Jabr, Abu Jawza, and Abu Salih, may Allah be pleased with them all, only reported the story in the manner of confirmation, believing that it actually occurred. They narrated it as such because they assumed its underlying truthfulness. We would reply that this may be true, particularly in the case of Ibn Abbas, the ocean of knowledge, whose honesty and trustworthiness is renowned. But to such detractors or even skeptics, we say, who told you that Ibn Abbas is Masum, infallible? He isn't. As such, he has not secured protection against falling into the mistake of accepting a myth regarding this, or to be deceived by liars or the false testimony given by the early mushrikeen. The same rationale also would apply equally to Mujahid ibn Jabr, Abu Jawza, and Abu Salih, may Allah be pleased with them all. The seal of the messenger sent by Allah, rendered ma'soom by Allah, was not protected from the deceit of potential litigants in court, nor rendered ma'soom in judgment based upon the evidence as presented before him, in which there may well be deceitful witness, shrewd liars, and the like. That's an excellent point. We have earlier.
That's very key. So, that has nothing to do with the infallibility of the Prophet. The infallibility meaning from reporting from Allah. That's it only. That someone in court or report him something wrong and he thinks it's true has nothing to do with infallibility. The legitimate meaning of infallibility must be attributed to prophets. It has nothing to do with that. It's something else. It has to do with that he is a created being. A created being will never be perfect in knowing the hidden and knowing the past and knowing what's happening behind his vision. That's only to the perfect being, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's something else. That's not infallibility, that's perfection. No created being have that. But from reporting from Allah, if he's sent by Allah as a messenger or as a prophet, created to a messenger, then what he reports from Allah ta'ala is binding. That's by interference and support of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this purpose only, nothing else. Okay, carry on.
We have earlier outlined the comprehensive evidences related to that topic, denial or rejection of which would lead one to exit the fold of Islam. Against this backdrop, any detractor or skeptic cannot be assured that Ibn Abbas or any of the companions or successors could have inadvertently be misled or beguiled by such accounts. Truth stands distinct from falsehood. This and other similar accounts, whether they have a kernel of veracity or not, do not extend beyond the matter they relate to. Not a single letter of them has or even should be attributed to the speech of the Prophet ﷺ. With certitude, they are not stemming from any wahi, revelation. There is no established evidence for them, as they are nothing more than myths, legends, and tales of the Arabs, as outlined earlier. They are not from the preserved zikr that has been protected, reaching us safely and in totality, free from corruption, let alone lacunae. Even if there is a kernel of historical veracity for the story of the custodian, Al-Lat, who mysteriously disappeared or was disposed of by Amr ibn Luhay al-Khuzai, who then manufactured the narrative into legend concerning his entry or merging with the rock. The fact is that Al-Lat predates them, well known in antiquity. Al-Lat was worshipped long before, known as being feminine, regarded as being a divine object or entity, either celestial or a celestial goddess from the daughters of Allah, or considered as being from a lower earthly domain, but from the daughters of Iblis. Evidence from the archaeological historical record, next section. Modern research in
Babylonian, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Modern research in archaeology, inscriptions, as well as historical documentation from other civilizations, has that Al-Lat was known among many Semitic people long before the advent of Islam. And there's a footnote here. Ahmed al-Jallad's work on the satanic inscriptions show that among the pre-Islamic Arabian nomads, Al-Lat is well known, crucially for the present analysis, already identified as a false female deity. So this is in the appendix or in the footnote. So if you've got the physical copy or the PDF, reference that on page 459. So carrying on with the text, the Arabic word for Al-Lat is originally derived from the Semitic word ilah or el, denoting the meaning of a god or deity, as it is in English. The Arabic word Allah seems to have its origin in the Semitic word Elat, which is the feminine word of El in most Semitic languages. This word corresponds to El or Ilah in Arabic, which after being inflected with a definite article becomes a word for the divine, Allah in Arabic. As a word, Ilah was founded in ancient Akkadian, which was spoken by the people of Mesopotamia before the time of Ibrahim alayhis salam, which is long before the Arab tribes came into existence. This demonstrates the depth of learning behind the statement of Imam Ibn Jarir at-Tabari, who said that Al-Lat is derived from the word Allah, because it appears that this form of expression was commonly known and widely widespread among linguists and commentators. Therefore, at-Tabari did not find it necessary to mention a specific source, as it was well known among the general public and not something he came up with himself. In similar manner, the same could be said of Manat, which most likely corresponds to Al-Maniyah, goddess of death and fate, which has been known since antiquity. It is considered a female deity in some Semitic languages, as with Al-Lat. The word is made feminine with an open ta, as in Manat, and others with ta marbuta, as it is more common in the Arabic language. Some languages have said it is Manut or Manutu. There are historical inscriptions that indicate Elat or Al-Lat was known to the Chaldeans, the people of Ibrahim, before his era by more than a millennia. Therefore, Al-Lat is
very ancient.
Therefore, Al-Lat is Ashira or Ishtar or Ishtarut or Astarte, Ashtat, Attirat, or Al-Lat, Elat in her own right, according to the myth of the Canaanites. There was also a goddess who was called Allatu, who represented the summer season for the ancient Babylonians. Contained with some legends, this entity, among many guises and names, be that Ishtar, Esther, Ishara, Ishara, Astar, Attar, Athar, was perceived as being a goddess of love, fertility, and war. She was given rather unusual titles like the celestial prostitute and the whore of Babylon. Charming. It has been... That's a... Wait.
Imagine the heavenly prostitute. A goddess.
Bonnie Blue. It has been said that she is not Al-Lat in reality, but rather her younger sister. Perhaps this depiction is the most renowned among the Eastern Semites. The Sumerians, Akkadians, Chaldeans, Babylonians, and the Assyrians. Within that region too, mention is made of another goddess, being located within the region of Euphrates, who is called Elat, with the emphasis being placed upon the middle letters of La. This entity being responsible for the underworld, the world of the dead, demons, spirits, or even hell. More commonly, she is identified with the name of Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld among the Sumerians, who as a civilization existed long before the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Next subsection. So this is extension into Greco-Roman pantheon, page 461. It also seems that the Greeks imported their pantheon of gods, or at the very least, some of them from the Near East, namely northern Iraq and Syria. This isn't a great surprise, given the regional proximity with Western Europe at that time not featuring at all in civilization. We note from the mythology of the Greeks the name Leto, there's some, or Lato. She was regarded as being the daughter of the Titans, Coeus and Phoebe. Myths from Olympia outline that the great god Zeus fell in love with her beauty, seduced her, and she consequently gave birth to two divine offspring, Apollo, a son, and Artemis, or Diana, her daughter. The Romans gave her the name Latona. It is possible that Leto or Latona is simply Latinized Al-Lat, perhaps being adapted to the local Greco-Roman environment. What could provide weight to this assumption is that the Greek myth claimed that Leto was born on the island of Kos, opposite to Bodrum in modern-day Turkey. That denotes her Asiatic origin. She has a sister named Asteria, being similar to the word Astar, but also used for Ashtar or Ashtart, the sister of Alat in the vernacular of the Semitic people of the Near East, the Sumerians, Akkadians, Chaldeans, Babylonians, and the Assyrians. It may well be that Al-Lat was also dubbed a deity or goddess by herself, being known as Latia for the Romans, or at least some of them, particularly those who had settled in the British Isles. She was worshipped and considered as being a mother goddess. A Latin inscription confirms it. This was found in the English village of Burgh by Sands, which is near the city of Carlisle in the north of England. The inscription reads, Dio latil lucvis versae, meaning dedicated or specifically set aside to the worship of the goddess Latia. Mention is also made of this in Al-Mufassal fi Tariq al-Arab qabla al-Islam. There's a footnote here. I don't want to try and trace it back. It might be of use before I...
Okay, if these details, maybe someone is interested to check.
Cool. Al-Lat was, so this is from the book Mufassal fi Tariq al-Arab qabla al-Islam. Al-Lat was considered among the gods that were worshipped by the Nabateans. Her name is also mentioned in the stone text and Selhud and Tadmur, and she is from the places inhabited by the Nabateans. It is Ha-Lata, Halat, and Halat, Al-Halat in Safaitic texts. Her meaning, that of Al-Lat, is because the letter Alif is a defining letter within the Safaitic dialect. It is mentioned more than 60 times within their writings. Moreover, she is one of the most frequently mentioned gods, with the text of the Nabateans indicating the popularity of her worship that existed among them. Cited also within the same work, the Nabateans worshipped the goddess Al-Lat as a mother deity. She was considered by Robert Smith as the mother goddess of the city of Petra, being equated to the goddess of Artemis among the people of Carthage. Al-Lat was also worshipped in Tadmur, Palmyra, in the land of Madin, among the Lihayanites. Epiphanius described the temple of the goddess Al-Lat in the city of Petra and mentioned that it was a temple of the Virgin Mother. As she was also worshipped by the people in the city of Ilusa. It would appear that the worship of Al-Lat was transferred from the Nabateans and the northern Arab tribes to the people in the Hijaz. The goddess Al-Lat is mentioned in the history of Herodotus as being one of the famous Arab deities. Known also as Al-Lat or Al-Lat. There has been some change in wording due to the nature of the Greek language. This is a section from the book again. Herodotus mentions it in this previous manner. Therefore, its significance is that it is the feminine sunim whose name is explicitly mentioned in a Greek text from antiquity. She is equated with the goddess Minerva or Athena among the Greeks. Some Orientalists have claimed that Al-Lat represents the sun as a feminine deity, while Reinhard Dessing argues that she doesn't, but rather the planet Venus. The names of men were also added to Al-Lat, such as Tayyim Al-Lat, Zayd Al-Lat, Aid Al-Lat, Sheikh Al-Lat, Shaqam Al-Lat, and Wahhab Al-Lat. What is striking amongst this is that we don't notice the presence of the name Abdullah among that from the pagans of Jahiliyyah. Broadly, this is a good text, although some corrections need to be made to it. For example, there are instances of the Arabs having the name Abdullah, although it's quite rare. The following instance, so this is you commenting, the following instance is found in Mujam al-Kabir of At-Tabarani from Abu Muawiyah ibn Abdullah ibn Nimr al-Azd. May Allah be pleased with him. I heard the Messenger of Allah sallam, saying, trust is among the Azd, while modesty is in the Quraysh. Secondly, Dr. Ali's mention of equating Al-Lat with Minerva or Athena of the Greeks is not an old statement, as is the case with Herodotus, as the context may suggest, but rather it is a later development among the Nabateans, especially among the people of the kingdom of Palmyra, as well as the Romans who controlled the lands of Greater Syria. Among the Romans in Syria, she was equated with Minerva, the goddess of wisdom and arts. Archaeologists have found the remains of a temple dedicated to her in Tadmur, Palmyra, and some sculptures and that date back to around 150 CE. Next section, Herodotus. Arguably, one of the most prominent historical texts from antiquity was that written by the famous Greek historian Herodotus of Halicarnassus, often referred to as the father of history. His work is still studied to this day. He was born around 490 BCE, more than 1,000 years before the commencement of the prophetic mission. Herodotus writes that he traveled the ancient world, recording his comments and observations, which he then compiled into his work of history. Contained within that text is his comment upon the gods which were present among the Arabs. He noticed that there was a feminine deity called Elat. This implies that this deity was worshipped by the Nabateans. The following are certain, so this is his section, I think. The following are certain Persian customs which I can describe from personal knowledge. The erection of statues, temples, and altars is not an accepted practice among them, and anyone who does such a thing is considered a fool, because presumably the Persian religion is not anthropomorphic like the Greek. Zeus, in their system, is the whole circle of the heavens, and they sacrifice to him from the tops of mountains. They also worship the sun, moon, and earth, fire, water, and winds, which are their only original deities. It was later that they learned from the Assyrians and Arabians the cult of Uranian Aphrodite. The Assyrian name for Aphrodite is Mylitta, the Arabian Al-Lat, the Persian Mithra. The only gods the Arabs recognize are Dionysus and Urania. The way they cut their hair all around in a circle with the temples shaved is, they say, in imitation of Dionysus. Dionysus is, in their language, is Oratold, and Urania Al-Lat. And this is your commentary. I would argue that the text of Herodotus implies that there is a feminine goddess called Al-Lat, who was known and worshipped by the Syrians, the Nabateans, regardless of his claim that she is one the Greeks call Aphrodite, Urania, the goddess of celestial love, or the goddess of astronomy and astrology, or anything else otherwise. In any event, the three female deities of Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, and Manat are explicitly mentioned in the text of the Quran as having been partners with Allah, worshipped besides him. This is what is meant regardless of the Arabs' belief system that they were angels, the daughters of Allah, the consorts, or whether they represent the sky, the sun, the planet Venus, or were perceived as being mistress, goddess of the underworld, or anything else. Those remain secondary consideration to that prime aspect. With all the foregoing evidence that has been presented, how did Al-Lat, who was considered as being one of the daughters of Allah, a feminine celestial deity, being of the same essence and origin of her father, a wife or consort of Allah, a being from the jinn, all of a sudden morph into a male human being? a human being made of flesh and blood, herding sheep, preparing sawiq, mixing it with fat that made pilgrims become fat. Is there anything more ludicrous or outlandish than this? Given the plethora of evidence, how can anyone remain under the misconceived notion that Al-Lat was a purely local Arab invention with no historical background in the world? Worse still to claim that she was a man preparing sawiq for pilgrims, or even worse, righteous servant of Allah. If that wasn't enough, there is another example of the mental corruption of the sect of Wahhabism and their obsession with graves. The following is cited in Mawsu'a al-Rad al-Sufiya. It is cited within Sahih Bukhari, number 4859, from Ibn Abbas. Al-Lat was a man who used to knead or mix the sawiq for the pilgrims, who also reported by Ibn Abi Hatim from Ibn Abbas. He used to prepare the sawiq upon a stone. None would consume it lest they become fat, so they worshipped him. And this is some of his karama, wondrous acts. May Allah have mercy upon him. He was a righteous man according to the testimony of the companions of the Messenger of Allah in his hadith. Al-Fakihi narrated from Ibn Abbas that when Al-Lat died, Amr ibn Luhay said to the people, he didn't die, but he entered or merged into the rock. So they worshipped it and built a house, sanctuary upon it. Al-Lat was located at At-Taif, see Fath al-Bari, volume 8, page 787. Then these righteous awliya, may Allah have mercy upon them and be pleased with them, were given various types of worship, from among them being dua, reliance, fear, oaths, vows, sacrifice, seeking help, visitations of their symbols, and statues at their graves, shrines, and other than that. After reading such an abomination, it is left to the reader to either laugh or cry. So this is your concluding remarks for this chapter. So this is a bit of a rant. So concluding remarks. The infamous deviant sect of Wahhabism has not only been successful in terrorizing and killing the people of Islam with a sword, but they have also managed to undertake a campaign of rigorous intellectual terrorism, to the point that the Hanafi scholars of Deoband in India, who claim to be the people of fiqh, legal jurisprudence, diligence, and scrutiny, surrendered their minds, raising the proverbial white flag in surrender. They said, "It is said with regards to the Mushrik Arabs in the Arabian Peninsula that they were Quburiya, worshippers of grave. The matter is clear and well known without the need to prove the matter or mention it. For they were Quburiya who were worshipping the graves and those inhabiting them." The Imam Mahmud al-Alusi died 1170 after Hijri, clearly outlined that Al-Lat was a man from Thaqif who used to prepare the sawiq with oil upon a stone. When he died, they made his grave a wathan, idol. He used to prepare the sawiq, so whoever consumed it would get fat. Hence he was worshipped, and that stone was too in honor. All of this from the efforts of the Hanafi scholars in nullifying the beliefs of grave worshippers. We belong to Allah, and to whom we return. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. One should find the analysis as set out herein to be more than sufficient to utterly obliterate the dangerous, destructive claim that was made by the Adraqi Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, founder of the infamous Khawarij sect of Wahhabism, which opened this chapter. Namely, in response, the definitive answer is thus to be told that the kuffar in his time, peace and blessings be upon him, there were among those who believed in idols, yet some of them believed in the grave of a righteous man like Al-Lat. Yet the truth of the matter is that making a claim with the saying that Al-Lat, as it is mentioned in the Quran, is supposedly a rajulun salih, righteous man, accompanied by the supposed myth of his grave, is not simply a mistaken understanding. Rather, it is a false statement altogether, an outright lie against a manifestly clear text of the Quran. Thus, by necessity, maintaining that lie is judged to be from the statements of kufr, disbelief. Refuge must be sought with Allah. No one should be reiterating it after the totality of evidence that has been marshaled here. Only those still ignorant of the fact will be excused, including those who disbelieve altogether in the finality of the prophethood and seal of the messengers, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace be upon him and his family. So that was your concluding remark. Do you have anything to add to that, Sheikh? So basically,
no. You see, it's very long about the Lat. It should not have been like that, but because for them, this is a major thing against the Quburi. They have nothing else. Ibn Abdul Wahab said, yeah, it's true that many mushrikeen, of Allah declared them to be kafir and fought against them are idol worshipper, but many were worshipping graves like Allah, or pious people like Allah. That's all that he has, nothing else. Absolutely nothing else.
And the Qati matter,
so it has to be demolished. Which Qati matter?
The Qati in terms of the Quran referring in the feminine, that is probably the biggest nail in the coffin.
And that's an addition. That's what makes it up to. If you state that after knowing all of that, then you are out of the world of Islam, definitely. But even that, it doesn't be constructed because all the narrations do not talk about a pious man. And even in this response to the Sufi, they say he was a righteous man feeding the Hujjaj. May Allah have mercy on him. It's a mockery. Shows that these people are just mentally deranged. Absolutely, utterly ignorant. Carry on anyway. Yeah. So I felt that we have to get that issue up to the root of the Sumerian, Babylonian, and so on. By Allah, this was not needed, but it's good to close that chapter essentially.
I think it's important. I mean, ultimately cauterizing, because you mentioned him as being a Khawarij, Azraqi, and it's a continuously recurring theme. So there's, it definitely has its place. I think, inshallah, people benefit from it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now on to the next chapter. Absolutely. Chapter 14, Volume 2, page 469. How did mankind leave Tawheed originally? Previously, it was established with conclusive evidence.
That's a bonus, but it's okay.
Previously, it was established with conclusive evidence to the level of certitude that the Arabs had effectively abandoned the deen of Ismail because of one man. That man, a shaitan among the innumerable shayateen of men, was Amr ibn Luhay ibn Qam'ah ibn Khindif. May the curse of Allah be upon him. It has also been distinctively established that the fable surrounding Al-Lat, the man mythically preparing the Thawiq, circumambulation of stones taken from the Kaaba, and other such legends are not worthy of being considered within the category of established or firm knowledge. Rather, they should only be mentioned by way of astonishment, anecdotes, or as trivialities in light-hearted social gatherings. What should be given precedence now and always is what is soundly attributable to the seal of the prophethood, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. Given that all those previously fables are born of delusion and falsehood, what probative or evidential value is there to the accounts regarding the emergence of shirk from among the people of Nuh, peace be upon him, or those who were prior to him, after the initial tawheed of the first of mankind, Adam, peace be upon him? There has been attempts at explaining this. Often, and as usual, there is the false and fabricated attribution to the Imam, acclaimed literateur, Abdullah ibn Abbas. May Allah be pleased with him. Little wonder that attempts try, even belatedly, to pin a statement to his attribution, for he was a prolific scholar, the interpreter of the Quran, and a foremost intellectual. Allah bestowed upon him a remarkable mind that never ceased to question, and explore, and seek the truth and knowledge. All of this is a blessing and benefit for the wider Muslim community, provided that those who have come after him have properly exercised due diligence in studying, scrutinizing, reviewing, and seeking verification. Firstly, it is necessary to expose the falsehood of the alleged attributions to Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, many of which are fanciful and do not fit the one rightly regarded as the interpreter of the Quran. Secondly, it is important to critically study the meanings and statements with an enlightened, deep thinking, and to ascertain whether they are definitely marfu', raised and attributable, or not. Submission, however, should be solely to Allah and His Messenger, without any increase or decrease, without blindly accepting anything, as is necessary, nay obliged, always and forever. We must begin with the wording as set out by Allah, the Exalted and Majestic, where He has said, Noah said, this is from Surah 71, 21 to 24, Noah said, my Lord, they have disobeyed me and followed those whose riches and children only increase their ruin, who have made a great plan, saying, do not renounce your gods, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uk, or Nasr. They have led many astray. Lord, bring nothing but destruction down on the evildoers. So explanations from the exegetes, so the Mufassirin. The following is recorded in the seminal tafsir of Imam al-Tabari regarding these verses. He, the Exalted, in his remembrance, is saying, informing us about what the nation of Nuh said. And they said, do not renounce your gods, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, or Ya'uk, or Nasr. These were a group from the progeny of Adam, as it was mentioned about the gods that the people were worshipping. It is from among the reports that have reached us what is narrated as follows. Ibn Humayd narrated to us, he said, Mihran narrated to us from Sufyan, from Musa, from Muhammad ibn Qais, concerning where he said, Ya'uk and Nasr. He said they were a group of righteous men from the progeny of Adam, having followers who followed them. When they died, their followers remarked, if but only we had images of them, it would make us more eager to worship when we remembered them. So they fashioned such images.
Yeah, carry on.
So they fashioned such images, but when they died and others came after them, Iblis approached them and said, your forebears used to worship them. Through them they provided rain, so they worshipped them. Ibn Humayd narrated to us, he said, Mihran narrated to us from Sufyan, from his father, from Ikramah. He said, there were 10 generations between Adam and Nuh, all of them upon Islam. Others have said these are the names of the Asnam of the people of Nuh, with regard to those who mentioned that. Bishr narrated to us.
Tabari is saying other day.
Okay. Abu Muhammad wants to make a point here. I'm just going to unmute.
Assalamu alaikum, Professor. So regarding the quote of Ibn Abdul Wahhab, he made an absurd and very strange claims. So first of all, you noted that he inserted the matter of grave worshipping, quburiya, from the blue. Actually, it's not mentioned anywhere in the narrations, the grave worshipping. It's only talking about stone worshipping, not the grave of this supposed guy. Assuming that these narrations are very authentic, and the story is an authentic story, is not just an Arab myth. Second most the more absurd thing that he has done is he actually praised this supposed guy, the guy who is Yalut al-Sawiq, and he assumed that he is doing like a good deed for the pilgrims of the Bayt Allah al-Haram, of around the Kaaba. But there's nothing also in the established narrations mentioned that he was. Yeah, he probably was doing it for the mushrikeen, for those who are pilgriming around idols.
Whatever it is not there as he said. Neither the qubur nor the righteous man.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Even worse, praying commercial way.
Yes, and the abominable thing about it is that he said Rahmatullah alayhi. That made me laugh around half an hour, because it's such an absurd claim that he converted this guy, the guy who is making Galut al-Sawiq, he made him a monotheist, a worshipper of Allah, but that's not true, so he imagined
not only a righteous man, so Western are not. We already commented that, so good that you comment again. He's not only a righteous man, he's a man with such high ranking that he has karama, has miracles.
Oh, yes.
Miracles attributed to non-prophets are called karama.
Yes, so it's very absurd.
Anyway,
and very
enough of that, just continue. Continue with no.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Ibn Humayd narrated to us, he said, Mihran narrated to us from Sufyan, from his father, from Ikramah. He said there were 10 generations between Adam and Nuh, all of them upon al-Islam. Others have said these are the names of the Asnam of the people of Nuh. With regard to those who said that, Bishr narrated to us, he said, Yazid narrated to us, he said, Sa'id narrated to us from Qatada concerning where he says, do not renounce your gods. Do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uk, or Nasr. He said Wad was to Kalb Damut, Al-Jandal. Ya'uq or Nasr, he said Wad was to Kalb, Al-Damut Al-Jandal. Suwa was for Hudayl, Arad, Arayat. Yaghuth was to the tribe of the Utayf. Sorry, Sheikh Hussein.
Yeah, carry on. He mentioned the tribe.
Yeah. Utayf from the...
these idols at the time of Islam, yeah, to whom they belong. Not the origin in time past. Okay. Okay.
From the Murad at Al-Juruf near Sabah. Regarding the Ya'uq, it was to Hamdan in Balagh, and Nasr to Qallah from Himyar. He, Qatada, said, and these were the gods that were worshipped by the people of Nuh. When then they were taken on by Arabs after that, but Allah is above all anything that is made of wood, clay, or stone. Ibn Abdul Ala narrated to us, he said, Ibn Thawr narrated to us from Ma'mur from Qatada concerning the verse, do not renounce your gods and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. He said these were the gods that the people of Nuh worshipped. Then they were worshipped by the Arabs after that. Wad was Damut al-Jandal, Suwa for Hudayl, Yaghuth to the tribes of Utay from Murad at al-Jurf, Ya'uq to the Hamdan, and Nasr for the Qalah from Himyar, from the Himar. Ali narrated to me, he said, Abu Salih narrated to us, he said, Muawiyah narrated to us from Ali, from Ibn Abbas, regarding where he says, do not renounce your gods, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. He, Ibn Abbas, said these were the Asnam worshipped at the time of Nuh. I narrated from Al-Hussein, he said, I heard Abu Mu'adh saying, Awaid narrated to us, he said, I heard Ad-Dahak saying in relation to where he says, do not renounce your gods, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. He, Ad-Dahak, said, this is the Asnam that were worshipped in the time of Nuh. I narrated from Hussein, he said, I heard from Abu Mu'adh saying, Ubayd narrated to us, he said, I heard Adahak saying in relation to where he says, do not renounce your gods, do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. He, Adahak, said, it is the gods that used to be in the Yemen. Yunus narrated to me, he said, Ibn Wahhab reported to us, he said, Ibn Zayd said in relation to his saying, do not renounce your gods, do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. He, Ibn Zayd, said, these are the gods they used to worship. Disagreement exists amongst the Quran reciters regarding the recitation of where he says, Wuddan. The majority of the reciters from the Medina recite as Wuddan with a Dhamma upon the letter Waw, while the majority of the reciters in Kufa and Basra recited as Waddan with a Fatha upon the letter Waw. The correct opinion The correct opinion upon us is that both recitations are well known among the reciters of the garrison cities, so whichever is utilized it is correct. As for where he says they have led many astray, he the exalted in his remembrance is saying that which was the report from the saying of Nuh, who said that many people had gone astray by worshipping these asnam that were created in the forms of those individuals who were mentioned in the context. The misguidance is attributed to them because those who worshipped them were led astray, considering them as a source of misguidance.
Notice this point. So misguidance is attributed to these 5 names, and they understand that it's attributed to Asnam, but Asnam do not misguide. The call of Asnam may misguide. Keep that in mind. We'll comment on that later, inshallah. Carry on.
Tafsir al-Baghawi. Some editions with channels of reporting are provided in the next tafsir, that from al-Baghawi. And they said to unto them,
Baghawi.
And they said unto them, do not forsake your gods. That is to say, do not abandon their worship. Namely, do not forsake Wad, as read by the people of Medina, Wudan, with a Dhamma upon the letter Waw. The remainder read with this with a Fatha and neither Suwa, nor Yaghuth, nor Ya'uq, and Nasr. These are the names of their gods. Muhammad ibn Ka'b said, these are the names of righteous people that were from the era between Adam and Nuh. When they died, they had followers who would emulate the example they set in worship. Then Iblis came to them and said, if you make images of them, it would be easier for you to engage in worship, increasing your devotion. They did that. Then a generation came after them, and Iblis told them, indeed, those who came before you used to worship them, so you should worship them too. Thus the worship of Awthan came from that. These images were given names because they were modeled on the images of those people from among the Muslims. Abdullah al-Wahid ibn Ahmad al-Malihiyu reported to us, Ahmad ibn Abdullah al-Naimi reported to us, Muhammad ibn Yusuf reported to us, Muhammad ibn Ismail narrated to us, Ibrahim ibn Musa narrated to us, Isham narrated to us from Ibn Jurayj, and he said, Ata from Ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, said, all the Awthan, idols, which were worshipped by the people of Noah, were worshipped by the Arabs later on. Regarding Wad, it was worshipped by the tribe of Kalb Damat al-Jandul.
That's North Saudi Arabia, the part which protrudes deep in Jordan, Damat al-Jandul. Yeah.
Suwa was the tribe of Hudayl, Yaghuth to the tribe of Murad, then to Bani Qutayf at al-Jurf near Sabah. Ya'uq was to Hamdan, and Nasr was for the Himyar, the branch of Dhil al-Qallah. The names were of righteous men from the people of Noah. When they died, Shaitan whispered to their people, encouraging them to set up statues in their councils where they used to sit and deliberate, and they called them by their names, but they were not worshipped until after these people had died and knowledge of such was lost. It was narrated by way of Ibn Abbas that the great flood buried these Awthan, covering them with the earth. They remained so until Shaitan brought them forth for the Arab mushrikeen. The Arabs had other Asnam too, such as Al-Lat, who was for the tribe of Thaqif. Al-Uzza was to Sulaim, Ghatafan, and Jashm. Manat was at Qadid. Isaf, Naila, and Hubal were the reserve of the people of Makkah. Here I would say that we notice Al-Baghawi, who is from among the reliable scholars of Hadith, mentioning the words of Muhammad ibn Ka'b al-Qurazi in a manner of emphasis. He said, Qurazi, in a manner of emphasis. He said, this seems to indicate his confidence in its authenticity and reliability. Tafsir al-Thalabi. There is also what is cited in the Tafsir of al-Thalabi. Al-Hussein reported to me, he said, Abdullah ibn Yusuf narrated to us. Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Aziz al-Baghawi narrated to us. He said, Muhammad ibn Bakkar ibn al-Mirqan narrated to us. He said, Abu Ma'shir narrated to us from Yazid ibn Ziyad from Muhammad ibn Ka'b. He said, Adam alayhi salam had 5 sons, Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr. They were abid upon worship. When one of them passed away, they were grief-stricken. Shaitan came to them and said, would you like me to make images resembling them in your place of prayer? So that way you look at it if you remember them. And that way you look at it, you remember him. They replied, we dislike having anything in our place of prayer that we would worship. He, Shaitan, said, then place it at the rear of the masjid. They replied, yes. So he fashioned images for them made of copper and lead. Then another son of Adam died, so he fashioned an image for him, then another, repeating the same. He, Muhammad ibn Ka'b, said, thus the objects increased as they do today, continuing to be adhered to, mashallah. Therefore, they abandoned the worship of Allah, may he be exalted. The shaitan came to them and said, why don't you worship anything? They replied, whom should we worship? He said, these are your gods and the gods of your forefathers. Don't you see them sculptured in your place of worship? So they started worshipping them besides Allah, the Mighty and Sublime. This was until Allah, the Mighty and Sublime, sent Noah and called them to worship Allah, may he be exalted. Thus they thus said, do not abandon your gods until where he, the Almighty, said, and Nasr. And Sufyan narrated from Musa, from Muhammad ibn Qais regarding the verse, do not renounce Wad. He said they were a righteous group of people between the era of Adam and Nuh, peace be upon them. They had adherents who followed them. When they died, their followers said, if only we could make images of them, we would be more eager to worship when we remember them. So they made images of them. Iblis whispered to them, they worshipped them, the images, and through them they provided rain. So they worshipped them. Ibn Abbas said Nuh was guarding the body of Adam upon a mountain which was in India. This was to prevent the Kafirin from circumambulating the grave. Thus the Shaitan said to them, these people are proud of you. They claim that they are the sons of Adam without you. But it is a body, and I will fashion an image like it for you to circumambulate. So he carved 5 asnam and made them worship them. There were Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr. During the time of the Great Flood, they were buried and covered by the earth. They remained so until Shaitan brought them forth to the Arab Mushrikeen. Tafsir Samarkandi. The next citation is taken from the Tafsir entitled Bahr al-Ulum by Abu Layth Nasr ibn Muhammad ibn Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Samarkandi, seeking to recount how these gods originated. He writes, and they said, do not abandon your gods, as said by some to others. And it is said that the leaders had said to the common folk, do not abandon, meaning do not forsake the worship of your gods, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. These are the names of the Asnam they used to worship. Thus, do not abandon the worship of these Asnam. Nafi recited it was Wudan with a Dhamma upon the letter Waw. The remainder recited it with a Fatha only, each having the same meaning, referring to the name of the Sanam Wad. Qatada said, these are the gods that were worshipped by the people of Nuh. Then the Arabs worshipped them after that. Al-Qutubi said, Wad is a Sanam, and from that the Arabs would provide names like Abd Wad and similarly Abd Yaghuth. Then he says they have led many astray, meaning these Asnam have led many people astray, namely many misled among the people, which is similar to where he says, Lord, the idols have led many people astray, and that's in 1436. Then he says, Lord, bring nothing but destruction down on the evildoers in loss and in foolishness. So next section, probability, not certainty. With regards to the summary of this matter as per At-Tabari, the majority of interpreters and what the commonality of the narrators concur upon is that Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr were the false deities of the people of Nuh. Thereafter, these were worshipped by some of the Arabs. As for the matter of them being considered gods by some of the Arabs, represented as Asnam, this is a matter well known. It is established by way of continuous recurrent narratives from both the exegetes and historians. Moreover, inscriptions have been found in the ruins of Sabah, Ma'in, Himyar, Thamud, and Lihyan. Whether these false gods from the people of Nuh were represented in the form of or as Asnam can only be considered as a probable matter. It is not entirely agreed upon. Thus, to examining the wording of the verse, it would be, and they said, some of them to the others, particularly the leaders and notables of the common folk, do not renounce your gods. And do not renounce, especially those considered as the greater deities, Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. And Nuh said, they have led many astray. Many have gone astray by worshipping these false gods. Bring nothing but destruction down on the evildoers. Do not increase the wherewithal of the wrongdoers, especially the leaders and notables, except in their demise. Mention of the khas specific after the general is for emphasis upon the general exposition. It is further found in the work entitled Al-Naqut Ad-Dalat Al-Bayan fi Anwah Al-Umum Wal-Ahkam by Ahmed ibn Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Muhammad al-Kharaji al-Qassab, where he remarks, there's evidence that in the expression of Arabic, the mention of the specific name serves as a form of expression, as we have mentioned in other areas from this book. Words Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr are explanations of the generic terms gods, or they refer to something else. If they are an explanation relating to deities, then the statement is emphasized by the wording do not abandon. If they are something else altogether, then the statement itself is one of emphasis. Just want to interrupt a second here.
Mhm.
These Mufassirin, obviously the amount of time that has passed in terms of even in chronology, how can they make statements related to times events around Nuh alayhi salam in anything other than referencing the Quran and just what the Quran says?
Ask them.
Okay. Oh, is this what you're going to later come back to? Because
Naturally.
Hmm.
I'm just mentioning the stories.
Okay.
Just carry on.
Okay.
So there are two theories. These are righteous men between Adam and Noah, allegedly, obviously. And some of them even the sons of Adam directly, and some of them somehow in between, depending upon what the narrator thinks the most reasonable things to say. And others say that the deity worship at the time without mentioning what's their origin, and so on. And both are wrong, but we will come to that. So both couldn't be possibly. It's misunderstanding of the ayah, which gives various meanings, and you have to watch like hell, not to fall in the trap. Nobody, I think only one in history detected that, and then this servant of Allah talking to you now. Okay, carry on.
Moreover, it is noted that the exegetes from the Salaf discuss the origins of these gods or asnam among the people of Nuh. Within this is included Qatada, Ad-Dahak, Ibn Zayd, and Ali ibn Talha in the channel from Ibn Abbas. Others have provided different viewpoints among them, including Muhammad ibn al-Quradi, Muhammad ibn Qais, and allegedly Ibn Abbas from the channel of narration in Al-Bukhari. As for what is mentioned, where the verse relates to saying that many have been led astray, there are four viewpoints as per those mentioned by At-Tabari previously. The first from Tafsir al-Baghawi, Muqatil said their leaders have led many people astray. This is chosen by Ibn Juzzi in his Tafsir too. He writes, they have led many astray. The leaders have led many astray from among the people of Nuh, meaning they have led many of their followers astray. And this is a statement of Nuh, peace be upon him. Likewise, the Zalimin only increase in misguidance from what he says. Hence, it is his dua against them. As Tafsir Ibn Juzzi. Second is what is reported in the Tafsir of Ibn Jawzi. He, the mighty and sublime, said, they have led many astray. One of them, the Asnam, have misled many from among the people. That is to say, they have been misguided because of them. Secondly, the leaders have misled many from among the people. Also in Tafsir al-Razi, that's from Tafsir al-Razi next, know that when Nuh narrates about them, they said to their followers in response, do not abandon your gods. He, Nuh, said, they have led many astray. There are two aspects to this matter. Firstly, those leaders who had already misled many people before, these advisors recommended them to adhere to the worship of the Asnam. And this was not the first occasion that they engaged in misguidance. Secondly, it is possible that the pronoun refers to the Asnam themselves, like where he says, the Lord, the idols have led many people astray. Cited in Tafsir al-Baydawi, they have led many astray, whether the pronoun they refers to either leaders of the Asnam, similar to where he says, Lord, they have led many people astray, bring nothing but destruction down on the evildoers. And also in Al-Bahr al-Muhit, the tafsir of Abu Hayyan, Muhammad ibn Yusuf, ibn Ali ibn Yusuf, ibn Hayyan Athir ad-Din al-Andalusi, misled astray, that is, the leaders and their followers, many from those that followed them among the general people. And this is a report from Nuh, peace be upon him, and what had occurred under their influence or misguidance. Al-Hasan said, they have led many astray, meaning the Asnam. The pronoun refers back to them as it does to the idols mentioned, as stated in the verse, Lord, the idols have led many people astray. Its application is to the closest mentioned, but reference to the leaders is more prominent, since they are the ones being mentioned. The meaning is applicable to them. The third viewpoint comes by way of Ibn Atiyah in his Tafsir al-Muharrar, al-Wa'i al-Wajiz, fi Tafsir al-Kitab al-Aziz. He says, they have led many astray, which is a report arising from narration from Nuh about them, and it is disconnected from what he mentioned about them. The meaning is that these people have greatly misled many people, including their followers and the common people. Then Nuh invoked Allah Almighty against them, that they would increase in anything except they would not increase in anything except further misguidance. He mentioned the wrongdoers to encompass all those who followed their path. Al-Hasan said in his book Al-Naqash, by saying they have led many astray, he meant the Asnam. He expressed them through a pronoun as a representation of how the majority of their people treated them, as if they had intellect and attributed to them the actions of reason. So you hear it's an iteration about these passive idols somehow having some ability of reason, which is obviously not warranted. Lastly, the false interpretation is what is cited in the tafsir of Al-Maturidi. The Asnam do not have. Is that the famous Maturidi?
Yeah, Maturidi. Al-Ash'ari Maturidi. Yeah, Maturidi.
Lastly, the false interpretation is what is cited in the tafsir of Maturidi. The Asnam do not have the capacity to cause misguidance, but the meaning of the addition here is that it was created in the form that if that body was one of those who go astray, it would go astray. Similarly, is said regarding the interpretation of where he, the mighty and sublime, said, and were deluded by worldly life, and that's 751 in the Quran. Tafsir al-Qurtubi and the opinion of the majority. The viewpoint which was mentioned by At-Tabari regarding these 5 names, Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr, as being the gods of the people of Nuh, is the opinion of the Jamhur, majority, but it is not ijma. The second viewpoint, which is old, considers them only as Asnam that were worshipped by the Arabs, with no further connection to the people of Nuh or his era. The following is cited in the Tafsir al-Qurtubi after mentioning the verses. Ibn Abbas and others than him have said, they are Asnam and graven images. The people of Nuh worship them, after which the Arabs worship them. And this is the statement of the Jamhur, the majority. It is said they were the preserve of the Arabs. No others worship them. They were the greatest and most revered Asnam among them. That is why they were specifically mentioned after where he, the Almighty, said, they said, do not renounce your gods. The meaning of the statement is that the people of Nuh said to their followers, do not renounce your gods. The Arabs also said to their people, do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. Then it is mentioned afterwards about the people of Nuh, peace be upon him. According to the first statement, all of the speech is about the people of Nuh. It is also that which appears in the tafsir of Mawardi, namely Abu al-Hasan Ali ibn Muhammad ibn Habib al-Basri al-Baghdadi, the famous Mawardi. Concerning these Asnam, these are 2 viewpoints. One of them is that they were worshipped by the Arabs exclusively, and the meaning of the statement is as what was said to the people of Nuh when they said to their followers, do not abandon your gods. The Arabs said the same to their kith and kin, do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr. Then mention of that reverted back to the people of Nuh. Its form is also outlined by Ibn Ashur in At-Tahrir wa Tanwir, here trying to break through the impasse. Indeed, some of the exegetes were obliged to interpret the composition of the Quranic verse as the mu'ad of the pronoun. They said it is referring to the mushrikeen of the Arabs. The suggestion was that this mention occurred in relation to the story of Nuh for the purpose of exemplification, meaning that some Arabs said to one another, and do not renounce Wad, Suwa, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr, like the people of Nuh said to their followers, do not abandon your gods. Then mention returns to the people of Nuh, which is a clear exposition of the components of how the speech is arranged. The best explanation, as some of the exegetes have viewed it, and what we intend to expound, is that the Asnam of the people of Noah were lost, submerged in the flood. Their names, though, were preserved in the memory of those who were saved, along with Nuh from the believers. They used to teach their young generations what happened to their ancestors for worshipping those Asnam. The The names remained in circulation among the ancient Arabs as reported in their traditions. Amr ibn Luhay al-Khudai, who inaugurated the worship of Asnam to the Arabs, erected statues for worship and gave them the names of Asnam of Norse people in addition to the other names. There isn't need for the exegete to go into the attributes of the Asnam that had these names among the Arabs or to mention the specific tribes that worship them bearing these names. So this is your commentary now. Given this, I would argue that Ibn Ashur's outline, as suggested, does have merit, but it doesn't definitively resolve the matter at hand because it is very well possible that the Prophet ﷺ would invite some of the pilgrims from Yemen, or from the people of Yemen, during certain Hajj seasons, some who were devotees to these five Asnam. He would call them to Tawheed, reminding them that they are descendants of Nuh, recounting to them the suffering their ancestor endured with the mushrikeen among his people, particularly the elders, notables, and leaders, and their insistence on clinging to the false Asnam. Some of those people of Yemen responded with the worst of answers, namely that they insisted upon their adherence to Wad, Surah, Yahuth, Ya'uq, and Nasr, that they wouldn't believe in him or abandon them or something along those lines. Hence the revelation of Surah Nuh, chapter 71, came and was recited to them. Next subheading, a third viewpoint of interpretation. I would argue that Allah has opened up the possibility of a third viewpoint, which is both moderate and, we believe to date, no one has argued previously. Its meaning is that these five Asnam were in actual fact the greatest chiefs and leaders of the people of Nuh during his era. Therefore, with due regard to the nature of the statement as it appears in the verses, it would be as follows. And they said, some from among them, specifically their chiefs and leaders, had said, do not renounce the worship of your gods, to worship the single God of Noah. Do not renounce, namely, obedience to your chiefs and leaders, Wad, Suwa, Yahuth, Ya'uq, or Nasr, lest Nuh becomes your leader. Nuh said, they have led many astray, in particular, the five aforementioned names. Lord, bring nothing but destruction down on the evildoers, especially the five. Looking at the statements made by the Mufassirin exegetes in the round, one can see that several issues appear to have been huddled together without expressly disentangling them. The fact that several South Arabian tribes later had five Asnam bearing the same names as mentioned in the verses from Surah Nuh doesn't have a direct impact on the interpreting the verses as they stand. Moreover, unlike the verses that recount the story of Ibrahim, peace be upon him, these verses in question relating to Nuh do not mention the word for idols, Sanam, Asnam, rather they expressly state your gods. Ilahatakum. We cannot say with any degree of certainty, unless it is established by Wahi, that the people of Nuh had these false gods represented in the form of Asnam, or whether they were abstraction. That is a later iteration of the Arabs, identifying the five listed names as being the leaders or chiefs from the people of Nuh, peace be upon him, would seemingly fit clearly with the wording as expressed in the opening two verses. Noah said, my Lord, they have disobeyed me and followed those whose riches and children only increased their ruin, who made a grand plan, saying, hence all praise is due to Allah. This is arguably the best and most appropriate rendition within the given context. It decisively resolved the issue of attributing the matter of leading astray to the appropriate parties. Their pronoun related to they have led many astray refers back to its nearest root, as mentioned. In principle, that cannot be violated without a clear evidence. This discourse relates to the people of Nuh, nothing else. It is about their gods, leaders, and chiefs. The rendition outline provides enhancement to the meaning more suitable to the eloquence of the Quran without the need for generalization or placing the specific upon the general. Having this perspective towards a matter provides other benefits. Among them are included, number one, that the gods which the Arabs had, or to be precise, some of them notably from South Arabia, represented by the 5 well-known Asnam, as mentioned, originally traced back to the names of the arrogant, tyrannical leaders from the people at the time of Nuh, peace be upon him. They are not from the era of Nuh. This is an indication for the critical researcher to strive to understand this fascinating historical evolution, and perhaps we will be able to return to the matter soon or in another context. Precisely how these South Arabian tribes had Asnam matching these 5 names remains a mystery, because no Wahi revelation has come to provide clarity upon the matter. These names mentioned are what appear to be of Arabic origin or of Proto-Arabic precursor, and it is conceivable that they are derived from triliteral roots, Wad, Yaghuth, Ya'uq, Nasr, which are still utilized in contemporary Arabic except for Su'a. This may give a strong indication that the language of the people of Nuh is an ancient form of Arabic or a precursor to such that is no longer in use. Perhaps it is, as it is mother of all known Semitic languages.
And the name of Nuh itself is also Semitic, it's clear. How much time did you spend until now?
About 1 hour, just under 1.5 hours, 1 hour 25 minutes, something like that. We can stop here if you want.
Okay, let's see if we have a convenient section.
Okay.
Is there a convenient section? What is the next section?
The next section is infamous Athar attributed to Ibn Abbas. So this is Ibn Abbas next.
And in between, is much or
sorry?
Is there in between much, or we are already there? Is in between the point now we are under section?
The next section is the infamous Athar attributed to Ibn Abbas. That's right, immediately next.
I know, between here and that section, how much?
The next section will go on for...
How much is remaining from now until the beginning?
To the end of the chapter?
No, not the next section.
Oh, from the beginning?
No,
from the beginning.
We're reading now.
Sorry, I lost you.
Somewhere, what's the next? You mentioned the heading. How much is that until the next heading? 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 10 pages,
we're
50
right
pages, half a page.
We're right at the
But
next section.
Okay, we stop there. That's it.
Okay.
That's what I mean. If it's a few lines of paragraphs. So my theory is,
Sheikh, we lost you.
That,
can you
first of all, if you read the Surah from the beginning, which
So can you repeat again? Because you keep
just a summary quickly. So you go with summary. I said we have quick summary. So until because we don't have next week, so it's 2 weeks from now. There's plenty of time to think about it and read ahead. As I said, read always ahead. My theory is the following: if you read from the beginning of the Surah, complain and when they follow those whose wealth and children, they destroyed them, etc. ومكروا مكرا كبارا, maybe the wealthy one, maybe the general public, مكروا مكرا كبارا وقالوا, mostly with the wealthy one, obviously the leader, but the general public say the same. وقالوا, do not leave your gods, stick to your gods, don't listen to Nuh and his theory about one God. Okay, that's one. Secondly, and don't leave these blessed wise leadership of these 5 persons. Yeah. And comments on that. وقد أضلوا كثيرا, either meaning the public or these, especially these 5 leaders, complaining about these 5 leaders, they are the header of Dalala, which makes sense. Everything streamlines. Now the question, after the flood, Nuh escaped with some believer. The problem, all exegetes and people, they think, taken from the Old Testament and from the old myths, that the flood covered all the earth. Nobody remained on earth except the people around Nuh, which is not true. It's manifestly not true. So, Nuh settled, most likely the flood and so on was somewhere of the Black Sea sinking, and the barrier to the Mediterranean broke, and all these complicated things can be checked geologically and so on. And maybe North Iraq was under flood. They settled down here in South Iraq with other nations there who have heard about the people of Nuh and about this blessed leader, and they were admiring them. for maybe weather change or another flood there, the people there, that's an important point. So the flood was not all of there. The people there, after Nuh, maybe 1, 2, 3, few generations, the people there, together with some other people, because the people of Nuh and the remainder are just a small community with the people there, they immigrated to South Arabia. That's a very important key point. And all of them speak this proto-Semitic language. This solves some problems which we'll discuss inshallah later. And then the memory of these tyrants became exaggerating, and they have proven themselves to be powerful. And then, like always in history, most tyrants are promoted to divine beings. We know that in history, in even recent history, recent meaning 2,000, 3,000 years, 4,000 years. So it must be like the beginning of paganism, that strong leaders are regarded as divine, or somehow inspired by heaven and lifted bit by bit until they become divine. So that explained everything and solved many problems which the people said. But provided that you recognize, number one, the myth of the flood covering all the earth is not true, and that the other people still exist on earth who are pagan and they're admiring these leaders still there. And then just all extra hypothesis that weather condition or other floods in Iraq came, forcing the people to go to South Arabia. That's why these special 5 persons are known only in South Arabia, and there or before that they were slowly promoted into divine beings. That explains almost everything. So it has nothing to do with these pious people, nor the children of Adam, all this nonsense. You see, all these stories about Adam and 10 generations, is all nonsense. We know from biology, from fossil records, from archaeology, from all these things, this is nonsense. The nonsense is that in the Old Testament. And also, there's some kind of people got in the idea, stuck that the whole generation were living 1,000 years or something like that. And all the stories of Methuselah and all this nonsense evolved from that. It's not true. No human lived more than 150, 130, 140, as dictated by biology, except Noah as a miraculous sign. That's it. But we discuss that more in 2 weeks, inshallah. Yeah, that's just a key. But always read ahead. So we can, when we read, you have some idea, you maybe have written some questions so we can discuss. Okay, next week, nothing because of this conference in Southeast London, or in East London.
So basically, Islam 21C. If no one's booked it yet, Islam 21C has got a meeting, a conference thing, in the atrium. You can find it online. So always follow Islam 21C. Excellent stuff. If you haven't followed them already, there's a brilliant Abdullah Andalusi video, chaired by Hamza Zortzis. Smashes Zionism. I sent it on your Twitter, Doc. Excellent video. Abdullah Andalusi.
Send it. Don't ask. Send right away.
Yeah, well, it's gone. It's gone. So the one is anyone who's listening. It's already been said. It's excellent. A really deep dive, goes into probably one of the most comprehensive rebuttals I've seen, and it's on these same brothers. Islam 21C. The brothers lives near me. He's one of the main guys. They're doing excellent work, so definitely support that. Abu Wahhab, you wanted to say something? We won't. What do you call it? Anyone? I'll allow everyone to unmute, inshallah. Yeah.
We are limited to crucial ones, because then Noah and son leave it for next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, just bear in mind, obviously, Doc's not in the best of
until we round the whole issue.
Yeah. Also, Doc's not in the best of shape, so try and keep it as brief as possible. Yeah.
Okay. I think Brother Berhat, he wanted to speak before me, so
it's okay. We will do it in 2 weeks' time then, because the discussion will get longer and longer. There's no point.
Okay. So I'm just gonna mention a few things, Professor, and make them very quick, inshallah. Regarding the last thing that you said, that after the flood, the migrated people, they settled in different parts, and then they worship the idols based on the strongest, based on the figurative.
No, I'm just suggesting. No, I'm just giving I'm just giving a hint idea. Just that maybe we explain why that's only in South Arabia available. That's it. I just throw that so that you prepare something for next time. That's not a
I see,
final
but
conclusion. That's a pre-conclusion, prologue.
I see. Inshallah, we will discuss after next week. But I also wanted to let you know that this phenomenon also is well known in ancient Iraq. I mean, if you take the idol or the idol Marduk, to these people, he was the supreme god. And according to his genealogy, he like was a massive leader among these people, and he like was a great figure. So then, after he died, he worshipped them, and then few generations came, and then they made them the supreme god, and under him different small gods. So he's like a supreme god based on the fact that
Not only
he
that,
was like a significant leader.
not only that, there's a letter from Alexander to his mother that he found by all nations, traced all these deities. They all seem to be originally great men who has been promoted to divinity, and he was hoping he will be one of them. That's so well established. We don't need to discuss that. That's so clear. Because this is all going to retrieve history, 3,000, 5,000 years, and so on. Yeah,
yes. Okay, now I want to connect the story of Noah to the blunders of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Now, Alhamdulillah, you have demolished...
No. That's the conclusion later.
Okay.
I gave just a foretaste for next time.
Okay.
You encouraged to prepare. No, we are at the beginning. We still have more to do. We have other jokes about the sons of Adam, and the suggestion for a movie and so on, like Star Wars. You will laugh. Wait.
Yeah.
The whole chapter goes into
okay, excellent, alhamdulillah. Now I just finally want to revisit the story of Al-Lat. Mashallah, you have demolished it completely, but from just like a historical perspective, have you before the book of Tawheed, do you know any modern scholar, whether a historian or like an Islamic scholar, who found the narrations of Al-Lat contradictory to the ancient scripts and ancient archaeological findings?
You find I don't remember anyone. The one who was busy with it is Ibn Taymiyyah. We have the quotes. Some of them are really disgraceful.
I see.
Okay, enough for today. Let's have a clear mind until next week after next.
Okay.
Inshallah. Enough now, inshallah. Yeah, this we'll reconvene on Sunday, and then 2 weeks time for Tawheed. Yeah.
Okay, inshallah, no problem. Okay. We will continue later, inshallah.
Oh yeah. Also, by the way, thank you for those comments for that, brothers. Excellent, inshallah. I've made a record of them.
Oh, no problem. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Same next 2 weeks time for Tawheed.
Any other questions?
No. Let's keep it brief, inshallah. Then, yeah, Sheikh. Inshallah. All the best. Stay.
Any pressing question from the past? But let me repeat my advice again. Try to read ahead and read before several times. Write your notes, questions, so we have something structured, some meat to eat, to bite in. Not just no, we have some meaty things. Yeah.
Okay then. Okay.
Good. So try that.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah.